Oh,
All right. Well, welcome. I'm Kat Burgess, and today we're introducing Judith Dreyer's new book, Navigating Your Dream World. A little bit of background on Judith. Judith Dreyer is the author of At the Garden's Gate and holds a master's in nutrition science and a BSN in nursing. She has studied shamanic dreaming with Robert Moss and taught classes at Western Connecticut State University for over 13 years. She now hosts the podcast series Holistic Nature of Us, where she has guests on to discuss how our holistic nature ties to the holistic nature of the world around us. She's been a member of several local writing groups and currently leads Notebooks, a writers group at the local library in Bridgewater, Virginia. And today we're here to discuss her and talk about her newest book, Navigating Your Dream World. Judith, welcome.
hi, Ken. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Let's see how we can stimulate our audience about dreams and the dream time.
Yeah, so let's like first of all, let's hear about your book. What's it about and what got you thinking about writing this?
Well, it's been a long endeavor. I've been a dreamer all my life, and I started out with the boogeyman scary dreams when I was little, and there was really nobody when I was young that could tell me about them or to help me with them. And it kind of stayed with me. And as a writer, when an idea stays with you, you kind of have to that creative spark doesn't leave you, and it doesn't leave you for a reason. And it's part of your destiny, I think, to work with it. So one thing led to another. I noticed with friends when we talked about dreams, I seemed to have more dreams come in, nighttime dreams.
Hmm.
And then I said, I am so fascinated with this. Why don't I make a commitment to really record my dreams at night? So I started really delving into the world of nighttime dreams. And because of my travels, I stepped into the Native American community. I have Native American in my lineage. I met a few elders. It's part of their daily life. They don't think it's weird or you're special because you're an avid dreamer. They think it's part of us. So I had to really listen and understand that. And of course, their worlds are filled with symbolism. And that was so intriguing to me. And to me, I find that juicy and delicious to talk about dreaming symbols because they lead us on these paths. And you're a creative person. So you know that you might have an idea for the hero or the heroine, but you might want it to take a little different path, or put an unusual obstacle in the way. And dreams do that for us. They don't come in as a movie, even though they look like movies. They come in filled with symbolism, and it's a different language. And our society really hasn't prepared us well to understand the language of our dreams. So I tied all of this together. And because of my work with the Native American community and studying with Grandmother Twyla and Grandmother Kitty and others, I really resonated with the Seven Directions. I felt like it gave me this beautiful map. And when I started looking at Ayurveda from the Far East and traditional Chinese medicine, that is also a part of Korean and Thailand and Tibetan cosmology, I realized that they were all tied into nature, number one, except Western society has divorced ourselves from nature. And I thought, well, isn't that intriguing? And so dreaming is all part of the package. And so it can be a daydream, it can be a nighttime dream. It could be your inspiration. It could be a vision you have in a meditation. It could be a gut feeling that you have about something. It's all a part of our makeup. And again, I feel our society hasn't really prepared us very well to be masters of that part of ourselves.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like Western society misses out on a lot of good things that we're really not taken advantage of. And I noticed that you made a difference between nighttime dreaming and daytime dreaming. I'm a bit of a novice. I'm a bit new to this realm. So it might be like an easy question, but could you explain maybe the difference between dreaming at night versus dreaming during the day?
Yeah, it's just actually two opportunities for us to bring in a dream. And I'm using it in a very broad Aboriginal sense. In the Aboriginal culture, especially from Australia, everything is about us as part of the dream time. So I always include daydreams, gut feelings, intuition, meditation experiences, inspiration, daydreaming with night dreaming. And we have classic examples. I believe Albert Einstein came up with E equals MC squared during one of his naps, kind of day naps that he did.
Oh.
Uh, Elias Howe came up with the eye of the needle from an actual dream that he had. But there's other inspirations that come from us. And you, as a creative person, you must hear a song or have an image when you're kind of dozing off, but not really. And all of a sudden you go, oh, I've got to capture this. So that's what I consider, the daydreaming. And think of the doodles. Think of how we doodle either with words or with musical notes or with thinking of a scene for a play or how to fix a corner of a cabinet. It's from the mundane to the most supernatural is all part of the dream time.
Hmm. Very cool. Very cool. And now I think a lot of your listeners and your audience might also be new to this because they followed you from At the Garden's Gate, a book about holistic gardening. And now we're moving into this realm of dreams. So can you talk to us about the importance of dreaming and understanding our dreams, as this is maybe something that's a bit niche and maybe more people need to hear about it?
Yeah, that's a good question, Kat. One of the things that really sparked my curiosity was the discussion about emotional maturity. And
Mm,
I think Bill Plotkin of the Animas Valley Institute does a really good job with that. And he actually talks about the hero's journey from the 15-year-old male emotional level versus the hero's journey from the mature level. And he feels we're really operating from the level as a culture from that 15-year-old male level. And there's some beautiful things about the budding adult in a 15-year-old male. They're full of courage and they'll take on the world and they're idealistic. They want to either reform or rebel, or they know it all too, and they can be very arrogant in their know-it-all. So when we look at it from that level, then we start to travel into the world of Carl Jung. And Carl Jung also talked about self-actualization and how through the dreaming time, if we put some effort into it, if we teach our families about it, our neighbors, our community about it, we have an opportunity to grow within. And so many of the sages in any tradition all over this beautiful planet through the ages have said it's really an inside job.
hmm.
Understanding this world is really an inside job. It's really not about the outer. The outer gives us clues. It gives us kind of like the three fates. They might throw a curveball in our life. Something unexpected happens, and that's to get our attention. So I'm trying to create bridges is basically what I'm doing. And the first book allowed me to start talking about the four directions as compass points. And then this book gave me an opportunity to talk about the compass as a symbol, where you've got four cardinal points put on it. And if you start drawing your dream on this mandala, things start to happen. It comes alive. Things can be revealed. It's just magical. And to me, the dream time brings in a level of magic and mystery to our life that raises us up from the party line, that raises us up from the mundane to realize we are so much more than we've been taught, number one. And this world is so much more than we've been taught, number two. And let's start dancing better. Let's start dancing, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's very cool. I think that's a great way to think about it as a means of self-actualization.
Mhm.
Uh, just learning about yourself and learning about the world through your dreams. I noticed that you mentioned the compass. as plotting out your dreams. Can you explain how the compass and the four directions are tied to the dream world?
Yes. First of all, let's start with a circle. People might know it. Circles are everywhere, right? The rings of a tree, the shape of our eyes,
Mhm.
the moon and the sun appear as circles to us. We know that there's sacred circles around the world. We have Stonehenge and other sacred sites like that. So there's something about the circle that has enticed us in our human journey. And in Sanskrit, mandala means that it's a sacred circle. It's actually alive when we start using it in a more focused, mindful, and for me, a sacred way. So when I started thinking about how to disseminate information, and I love the seven directions, and it's really a part of me, that I realized that the compass holds the four directions. So as soon as we put north on the circle, we've already changed the energetics of that circle. So if we do east, south, west, and north, we have a beginning set of parameters to look at a dream. And I learned that Carl Jung was very big in mandalas, and he encouraged his he did that. He did circles for his dreams, and I started doing it in my work. And what happened for me is I was teaching a class, and a lady shared her dream. She had lost her husband about 3 or 4 years ago, and or maybe a little longer than that. And anyway, she talked about being in a car. It was foggy, and she couldn't see her way. And I the next class I said, let's draw that out. And when we drew it out, she started her car in the south, which is where we have our sexuality, we have our partnerships, and that got cut off. And her car was heading to in the center of the circle where it was all foggy. But the road continued on to the north, and she didn't see it until she drew it out. And the north is where the wisdom place is. She was coming into a place of a better, wiser place with her grieving.
Mm.
And she was coming into more wisdom about her grieving. And so she really felt uplifted once we started to uncover this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the different facets of the dream connect to different points on the compass based on the symbolism that each point on the compass represents. Am I
Correct.
getting that right?
Yeah, and it's how you draw it out too. So I encourage everybody to be intuitive. Don't think about it. So as soon as you wake up, you just do a sketch. Nobody has to be an artist. I just do stick figures, you know. I have a keen sense, because I've been working with dreams a long time, of the lighting, of clothing. So if I see them in a jacket, I know it might be fall or winter, perhaps. If I see myself in a t-shirt and the sun is shining and it's bright, I know it's got to be spring or summer. So it gives me a sense of timing, but it also gives me a sense of direction. So I try to get a sense of where the action is if I was looking down on it. So I see myself walking in from the east, and there's a table in the middle. There might be a wolf over here on the west. Not too much going on in the north or the south. So then I start looking at it from the direction of east to west and then west to east. Because keep in mind, when you're in the east, you know, what's the first thing that you think of?
Sunrise,
Right. What do you think about in the west?
sunset.
Right. So if you look at the qualities of the sunrise, freshness, new
Hmm.
beginnings, it's also the place of childhood. So does a child in their beautiful spontaneity have the wisdom of the mature adult?
Mm.
And could the mature adult, who's bogged down by all the stuff that we get bogged down to as we approach our 40s to our 60s with our career, our jobs, and relationships, could we look to the East for more spontaneity?
Mm. Oh,
So does that make sense?
yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Now, now how does somebody begin to take note of their dreams and to begin to now I know you don't like the term interpret. Um, can you talk a real quick sidebar on that? Can you talk a little bit about the difference between understanding your dreams and interpreting your dreams?
There's a
That's
very
a lot
fine
of that
line.
confused.
Yes. When I use the word interpretation, my intention is to help you interpret your dreams. I
Okay.
am not the analyst that's going to sit here and interpret your dreams for you.
Okay.
And there are people who do that. And there are dream books that are filled with their understanding of certain symbols for dream interpretation. And I encourage everybody to don't even go there. So
Mhm.
my book, I start with the tools that you need in the East, because on the wheel, East is the place of structure and form. Think about a seed. A seed has all the potential within it. Every single part of its development is contained in that tiny, tiny little seed, but it needs tension to break through the shell, to reach for the light, to grow into its fullness. Okay. So if we understand it from that point of view, then in the book, the East, I give you how to set up your tools. I talk about sleep hygiene. I talk about if you can't dream, how can you start stimulating the dreams?
Mhm.
One thing I didn't include in that discussion, and I'm sorry I didn't, is that I think I touched on it briefly, but medications can interfere with our actual sleep patterns. And there's certain meds that even if you want to, you probably won't be able to break through that barrier. But the dream time is not about nighttime dreams only. It's about daydreams and inspiration. So we have other ways of receiving, is what I'm getting at. So the East, you set up your structure and form. If you don't put your tablet by your bedside and a pen, and you want to record your dreams and you do nothing about it, what do you think is going to happen?
You're not gonna remember your dreams in the morning.
No, you probably won't. And it's think about how many times we make a plan for diet, for exercise. We follow through for a little while, and then we kind of forget about it.
Mhm.
And do we really feel that sense of accomplishment?
Mm.
I don't think we do. And we can't fool our subconscious either. We can't say to our subconscious, I am going to watch every calorie I eat for the next 30 days, and we stop after the 12th day and we don't go any further. So is our body going to respond? No. The same thing happens in our dream time. Um, our dream consciousness, our dream power. I love that. Anne Faraday uses that term. It's one of her books, Dream Power. We want to communicate with it. So I put my pad and pencil down and say, I'm ready to communicate with you. And let me tell you, it was like kind of getting on a bicycle. It took a few days, and then I had a little dream here, and a few more days, and I had a little dream there. But it excited me to start having the dreams. And
Mhm.
that's what kept me going. Did I have peaks and valleys? Absolutely. But I've been doing this for like 30 years, maybe a little bit more, of keeping a dream journal. So once you get into the swing of it, I think the getting on a bicycle is a pretty good metaphor for getting going. And that's what I talk a lot about in East, and I give everybody a technique. And after every chapter, so if you complete the East, you can start writing out what does the East mean to you?
Mhm.
What does yellow mean to you? Because that's the color that I associate with the East. Doesn't mean it has to be, but
Uh-huh.
that's a traditional, I use a traditional set of parameters, and then people can springboard from that.
Okay. Very cool. And now I feel like, in my personal experience at least, dreams have always kind of been a little bit stigmatized, a little bit of like they're kind of just brushed off as silly, or I had this I had this amazing dream, you wouldn't believe it, and or I had this wacky dream that was so disjointed and it was so weird, and I don't know, and we just kind of toss it past and we're like, well, that was weird. Okay, on to like my physical life and all the things that I see and are logical and make sense and are linear. Can you talk about a little bit about kind of how to overcome that mentality and to kind of see the potential that we're missing out on by not paying attention to our dreams?
I think you raise another really great point. I get this all the time. The first thing people say to me, oh, they're so weird. And then they
Mhm.
kind of walk away. And I go, well, yeah, they are. They are weird. It is weird to see uh, a group of deer all of a sudden turn into human beings. I mean, that's kind of strange, isn't it? Doesn't
Yeah.
happen in our waking state. But I want people to get over the fact of the weirdness. So in my classes, I ask everybody to make a commitment to not refer to them as weird, and
Mm,
refer to them as an unknown. So let's figure out what we need to know from that dream. So
mm,
all I can give you is examples in how it's empowered me to tell you how valuable I feel it is. First of all, I was able to pick a master's program based on a dream. I was able to, my first car was an old shift stick that my brother and I bought. We scraped a few dollars together. The thing was, not very good, but it was our first car. We were delighted with it, but it had three gears on the shift. I could not get that car in first gear. I could do second and third gear beautifully. That night, I dreamt of dreaming the car and I got into first gear. In the morning, I woke up, I got into first gear. I've never had a problem with a shift car ever since.
wow.
And I hear that from avid dreamers that they can fix things. I know of men who have been puzzled by something in a car and they'll dream about looking over here instead of over there. And they get up in the morning and they follow the action of the dream. That's a key point. And they're able to solve it.
Mm,
I've moved because of dreams. I've gotten into relationships because of dreams. I've let go of relationships because of dreams.
mm,
And that has not been an easy path. How do you wake up and say to someone, I'm really sorry, but we're over the street, our friendship? It doesn't have to be a romantic thing, but I've done this with friends where I realized it was not going to serve my destined path if we continued. Something I can't see down the road, but I was warned. And
mm,
so the first thing people do is look at their dreams from a place of, is it warning them about something in their everyday life?
mm,
So that helps us kind of get through the weirdness, and people are scared and, we don't know how to handle it. So I got from my first boogeyman dream, I got, it's just a dream, go back to sleep, young lady. And it wasn't
mm.
even my parents. I was with my aunt and her husband was very gruff and I was like afraid of him. So I just closed my eyes in my room and hope nothing else would happen at
Wow.
5 years old or 6 years old. And in other traditions, if we start to work with the boogeyman, we already deal with the monsters by the time we're 12 years old and we reach puberty and begin adulthood.
Mm,
So um, but I call nightmares night horses. And there's usually a treasure in there. And sometimes our highest good will bring us these scary dreams to wake us up to something. But
mm,
we're not taught that. So
mm,
I'm hearing from women with children that the kids are dreaming of shootings. They're dreaming of some violence in their neighborhood. And my first concern is that a warning for them about something potential? Should we just tell them to go back to sleep? Yeah, it's just a dream.
mhm.
I'm hoping I can open the doors for people
Yeah.
and have them realize that it's so much more than that.
Mm. Yeah, it kind of requires a courage to be curious.
Yes. And done in the right way with the right kind of setting, I
Mhm.
feel dreams are sacred and they're holy to you. And I hold a space for you so that when you share a dream, you know that it's not going to go anywhere. I keep your confidence, number one,
Mhm.
unless you want to, that's up to you. And then I'm going to give you keys that how does it resonate with me? But I use the language of, if it were my dream, it means this to me.
Mhm.
You can take it or reject it. It's up to you.
Mhm.
And then hopefully we come up to a place of some kind of action for your daily life. And they
Mhm.
did that in Aboriginal cultures. If they saw, if four people woke up in the family unit and they heard somebody saw a tiger and somebody else heard a tiger and somebody else had a glimpse of a tiger but saw the pathway with the right tree, they would come together and say, okay, the tiger's over here. We're going to go over there today and be mindful. We
Yeah.
don't have that understanding in our daily life.
Huh. Yeah, that is quite interesting. So you mentioned a little while ago that you have classes, and you offer, and on your website you say that you offer consultations.
Yes.
So if somebody, comes along, they read your book and they want to learn more and they want to come to you, what can they expect from a class or a consultation with you?
Well, the book was actually born from classes that I've taught. So
Okay.
the book follows the structure of classes. Ideally, I'm in a new location. Ideally, I'm hoping to do like a 5-week series. So 2 hours a week, so we can go through the 5 weeks, give everybody the tools. You need a few days to dream before you come back. Ideally, I'd love to do it every other week, but with people's schedules, I found that doesn't work as well, or to do an all-day workshop, so I'm looking for venues for that right now, but I've done them in the past. The book was born from that, and excuse me, it's the best of what I've gathered in doing those classes. So if somebody calls me or books me online, they can go to my website, judithdryer.com. I have all the right, click here for a free consult. It's 15 minutes and it's up based on you. Do you want to talk about a dream in 15 minutes, or do you want to I have a set of cards. I call them oracle cards because they're based on the teachings of the book, and I can do a reading for people in 15 minutes if they have one question, so they can get a sense of how I work, what feels right for them, and I want them to be comfortable. And then I do have consults for half an hour and an hour, or however long you want, but I have my fees up there and etc.
Okay. Very interesting. And now, what would you have to say to someone who is definitely very curious, but maybe a little afraid to dip their toes into this new world? It's because it can be a little scary. It's unpredictable. It's not always logical seeming on the surface. And so what would you say to someone who is like just trying this out and just a little bit nervous, maybe needs a little encouragement?
Well, I would say start with a consult with me first, because that would help you get your toes wet and to understand for you how to open the doorway. It
Mm-hmm.
isn't for everyone in the moment. I don't expect to reach everyone, but I do want to reach those who are curious, those who want the path of self-transformation to become enriched, who who also see this as a self-help system, and it's also a level of spirituality. So I can open the door on those levels for people, and they can decide which one fits for them or not.
Okay. Okay. That's helpful. Um, I think it's definitely a new concept for a lot of people. And so I think having a little bit of encouragement is always helpful to just give people that little nudge to just try. And maybe it's not for you right now, but maybe it's something that you can think about and mull over and come back to later.
Correct. Yes. And that's why I've offered the free consults, so that, people can, again, connect with my energy, connect with my personality, see if it resonates with them, test the waters. And, you can keep a journal any way you want. I feel I was guided to do what I did because of being the teacher right now, and sharing this level with the world and bringing it into the mundane. I
Mm,
love Carl Jung's work, but that level isn't for everyone. It's harder to find a very good therapist, and
mhm,
there's a cost factor with it. But the Aboriginals didn't need any of that. The dreaming was part of their everyday life, and I want to excite people. That wouldn't it be fun if your beautiful child who's 7 years old walks into the kitchen in the morning and said, "Mommy, I had a dream of, a beautiful horse in my dream. And you know what? He let me pet him, even though I was a little unsure, but I was able to pet him.
mm,
And what do you think, Mommy?" And
mm,
that would open a door for a discussion. But if Mommy doesn't have any idea what dreams are, how could she even open that door up?
mm. Yeah.
And kids are fantastic dreamers. They
Hmm.
really are, and we're not there for them.
Mm. Yeah. For sure. Now, I know that with your book, you've also published a dream journal. Can you talk us a little bit through what that is? Because I'm sure people who are going to be looking for the book will want the journal. So what are they getting with the journal as well?
Yeah, I found that over the years I've done this technique with so many people. Robert Moss gave it to those of us who studied with him. I'm a certified teacher of one of his programs, and we could share it with the world. And so, what I decided to do, wouldn't it be great to create an actual journal that gave you opportunities to record a dream whenever they come in? So, I have a little bit of explanation in the beginning. I describe the technique in the beginning. And then there's 3 pages where every question is formatted. So you just have to follow the questions of the technique. And then you title your dream and you can go back at the end. I've got an opportunity for 25 dreams in the journal. So when you can go back and you can highlight, you know what? During this period of time, whether it's some people could be 1 month, I have friends that are avid dreamers. For some people, it might be over 6 months, but they could go back and say, you know, I had 3 whale dreams in this time period. Maybe I need to go back and see what the whales are saying to me a little bit differently. What else can I research about them to find that out? Or maybe they see, I don't know, carrots 4 times, and they've been just not putting that in their diet. I would say the first thing I would say is go get some carrots,
Ah,
if that resonates with
yeah,
you.
yeah.
So again, there's clues in there. And then it's also a great record for the synchronistic happenings that occur in our daily life, that we get the clue from the dream and then something manifests, and that's exciting.
Oh,
And in my dream, I share my deer story in there, where I had a dream, I had an experience in the waking state in the woods with the deer, and they gave me 2 very helpful techniques because I was under a lot of stress at that time. But then I had confirmation by something that occurred at an event that absolutely supported the first dream. So I try to tie all that in together, but that's not revealed necessarily within a dream. And a symbol may not be revealed right away. So you're creative. You might wake up and have a leer from the 1200s show up in your dream.
mhm.
And you may not think too much about it in the meantime, but then the word lyra comes up in another dream. And by keeping the record, you could go back and forth and say, oh yeah, there's something here. Let me delve into it even more deeply. And of
Mm.
course, our audience, I want our audience to know Kat and I are both writers. So symbols are important to us and ideas are important to us, but the dreaming journal gives us a place to track it.
Yeah, and that's fabulous because once you're tracking it, you're more aware not only of what you're dreaming, but of the world that you are taking part in, the rational, logical, linear world that we're a part in, and you can start seeing how they connect.
Exactly, because we are more than just the linear world.
Hmm.
But you have to remember, Descartes kind of separated the mind out from the body back in the 1700s. And he said the mind was rational and governed everything, and the body was nothing more than a machine. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I feel, and I talk about this in the West, that the body actually speaks to us in dreams. And I give a few examples from my own life, how I got clues about my health in the dream. And I love that because we can prevent things. Our bodies will, oh, the universe, our bodies are here to help us. Nothing's here to hurt us. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of our shtick.
Very cool. Very cool. So your journal and your book and your oracle cards, am I saying that right? The oracle
Right.
cards? Um, these are all available on Amazon, for purchase. And Judith, where else can we go to find your work?
Well, the book and the journal are available on Amazon. So you just type in Navigating Your Dream World by Judith Dreyer and you'll find it. And Dreyer is Dreyer. And then the book, the journal, and the cards are all available on my website. And so if you go to dreams@judithdreyer.com, you can easily reach me. You can go to my website, judithdreyer.com, and leave me a comment or a question, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible, and we can begin the process.
Excellent. So we know how to contact you. We know where to go to find your work. connect with Judith over social media. She's up on Twitter. She's got her website. And Judith, thank you so much for being with us today. This was like such a great treat for me to like sit here and chat with you about your book once again. And congratulations on your release. That's very exciting.
It is, Kat, and I thank you again for facilitating this and being a part of my journey. I'm really grateful, and just tell my audience her work is terrific. So we'll see more of Kat, uh, more visible work of Kat in the very near future. So thank you, everyone, and sweet dreaming, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Excellent.